What are they called?
Is it a gondolier?
The
gondolier is the man that rows.
That's a gondolier. But
a
gondola is isn't it also one of those things?
Is it?
Right, well, now then, I've forgotten my introduction, so I'm going to try and remember it through the gift of mind thoughts. It's something like, here he is, his Stone Age caveman looks cannot belie his something, blah, blah, that fill in the dots there. The Pennines could not stop him. Here he is, it's Shaun Keavney.
Oh, you make him sound like a Roman legion. Welcome, Shaun.
Thank you. Wow.
That's what happens when you forget your notes.
I couldn't agree with you more about the whole Stone Age thing. There's something about my brow, I think. It's extraordinarily heavy.
Could we perhaps substitute the word Stone Age looking bloke for rugged good looks?
That's it. I have this thing where, because Keavneys are like, technically, I think, if you look back at it properly, which I never would, come from Galway, essentially, in that part of sort of Western Ireland. And I have this argument that any dark-haired people from the west of Ireland have got Spanish descent because it's something about the Armada going round to the west of Ireland and smashing...
That's me. That's my great-grandfather. That's where he was from.
Really?
It was in the 17th century,
Yes.
sort of when the Spanish sort of Armada or whatever, they got blown into the south of Ireland and then obviously made friends with the locals. One thing led to another, as it does. And thus these beautiful children were born, which had the half Spanish and half Irish complexions.
Well, so you reckon you're one of those?
I honestly do. I like to romanticise that. If I ever got to that position in life where they asked me to do, who do you think you are? Then I'd like to investigate that further. I always used to say the Keavneys, we're a family of warriors, and they would be like, well, no, actually, we're warriors. There's a slight difference.
Can we go to it for a moment? I mean, there's a vague thread, and it is a very vague thread in this programme of transport and journeys. But of course, it might be that you're an enthusiast for roller skates or bicycles or motor cars, whatever it is. Or it might be a metaphysical journey that you've had past doors and abstract rooms. But, Shaun, are you a keen traveller?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's an odd one, and I'm sure that people have mentioned it already on this podcast, especially over the last, sort of 16 months or so, since many of us have been landlocked in our postcodes. I was just saying this to you downstairs before the tape rolled. Getting out of my postcode feels like a metaphysical and psychogeographical journey now. So to come down to the southeast of London feels like going to the Côte d'Azur. And it is kind of beautiful here. I'm definitely going to be like one of those sort of tour bus guys. I'm going to come past again on a sunny day just to take a glimpse at your stucco.
We were talking earlier, in a casual way, about where you live. Bob Marley and the Wailers lived up there.
Neasden,
in a semi-detached house. Tell everyone where Peter Tosh worked.
It's an incredible thing. When Bob Marley and the Wailers first came to London, I think it was 72, the year of my birth, they came to Neasden, which is, if you don't know it, it's not it's not Knightsbridge, we'll say that, It has its charms, it's a bit rough. I don't know what it was like in 1972, but there's a parade, Neasden Parade.
Would you say it had a tattered charm?
It has got a tattered charm. That's a lovely way of saying it.
And a great name, Neasden.
Yeah.
Neasden. And Bob Marley and his Wailers lived in this, like you said, this dilapidated sort of Georgian house. And Peter Tosh used to work on Neasden Parade in a grocer's shop. And that sounds to me, sounds very Vic and Bob to me, like we're saying.
What you're saying, and I had no idea about this, is that the greatest, or some of the greatest legends of Jamaican music and creators of a new form of art form were living in a derelict, you described it as a Georgian house in Neasden.
I think I've got that right, and they've still got the blue plaque up there.
To me, because I saw that documentary, I thought it was like a 1930s setting.
Yeah, okay. That you see, you're going to architecturally be better at this. You'll look at a picture and think. I think you're right. It's not even one of the
Do you
sort
know
of
what
more
it's
Victorian ones.
Like what the house that Terry and June might have lived in.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
sort of
Yes.
thing. But really, not where you'd expect to see a whaler. And Peter Tosh working in a greengrocer's.
Yeah, like you're saying before, just like a pound of apples and
And
an
if you pop
exchange
next
of
door
mark.
to me mate Bonnie Whaler, he'll clean your shirts for you in the laundrette.
Bob Marley and the Fishmongers, instead of the Whalers. But that's it is. It's such an unsalubrious place to expect it, and that's apparently where Concrete Jungle was written. It's not about London. It's not about New York. It's not about Trenchtown. It's about Neasden. So that's amazing. But to go back to your initial question, I do like travelling. I've not done enough of it. I still feel worried about that because I'm shuddering beyond that mid-age point. And of course, everything's shut down anyway, and we can't do as much as we used to, and neither should we, because I'm worried about the planet and that. I mean, I've managed to get away a bit, but a lot of the time when I've done it, I've not quite done it right. You know what I mean? Me and my mate Kev went, when we were younger, we went on an odyssey to America, and he's from Colne, so he's even more sort of northern than I am.
Colne in Lancashire.
Yes. So he's very given to drizzle. He loves this kind of weather. As soon as the sun comes out, he panics. So we flew out to Los Angeles, and we didn't even think to hire a car. We just walked about for 4 days.
That's unbelievable in Los Angeles, where everybody has a car. Yeah. There is no public transport really to speak of.
We ended up, Jools, on day 2 in a bathroom showroom. A fucking bathroom showroom on our holidays, and that's where we were. And we were sort of walking around this colossal, just surrounded by taps and things like that.
Faucets.
Sorry. I mean, what a cultural bomb to drop there. No wonder they looked at us confused.
Yes.
And then the only thing we got out of it was we sort of started a screenplay, and it was going to be called Taps, and it was Robert De Niro and Al Pacino, our rival bathroom showroom salesman, trying to get the biggest sale in history. And that was the only thing we got out of it. It's not yet been made.
No.
But I've still got high hopes for it.
Yes, I think it's a very promising idea. I mean, that's if you do go on holiday. I mean, this is my big thing about travel. I've travelled quite a bit and I've enjoyed it, but a lot of the time you might as well stay at home because you'd learn just as much. You could have come up with your screenplay at home.
But the things that if you went like in the future, and especially now, it'll be virtual reality holidays. So you put on a helmet and stroll around Rome.
Yeah.
Or something. But within that program, there wouldn't be any bathroom shops for you to go and look in because it'd be all the interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you'd be missing out. That's one of the great things about walking around a new place is you can go into a bathroom shop.
It's so true.
And I really like going around shops that you wouldn't necessarily go in.
Yeah, because otherwise you are, like you say, you do. Of course you're going to see the Colosseum in Rome. But what about the bathroom showrooms?
Exactly.
It's not something people think about. We on that same trip actually, we went to the Grand Canyon and we spent 3.5 hours sitting on a bus waiting for it to go because we thought it was going to go around the lip of the canyon like that, and we were on the wrong bus, and so we just sat there for. It was honestly about 3 hours until we realised this bus isn't going anywhere, and we've lost a whole afternoon of like watching the sun play on the canyon and stuff. We just sat inside a bus.
If I may say so, I think what this is telling us is that we don't want to go on holiday with you because you seem to miss all of the key features of what's going on. I mean, it is important, I think, to try and be in the right place at the right time. But having said that, it is nice being in the shop. I go once a year. We play in Stoke-on-Trent, which I love. Around the Potteries and that, I'll go in there. Yeah. But opposite where the hotel is, there's an enormous, what are those big DIY shops called?
Like a B&Q type.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And I go in there, and it's once a year. I love it. Once a year, I buy padlocks, measuring devices, and I would buy bigger garden stuff, but I can't fit all that. And I get back to my hotel room, and it's really once a year I do it. I really like it, and it's normally at Christmas, so they're playing Christmas music.
That's just your tradition, then.
Yeah, I
so
love
what
it,
do you do? Spread it out on the hotel bed? Like, there's a rake I got there.
Yeah,
trellising.
Yeah. I got a digital measurer, very good, so I could tell the size of the room, and then I measured the room.
Did you use it more than once?
Yes, I measured the room and then I measured the bathroom. And then I measured the lift, which I calculated to be 7 feet wide and 4 miles tall.
And then it went in a button drawer and was never used ever again.
It's a very useful thing, though, the digital measure.
They are, but you've got to be, maybe a builder or someone who's interested in measurements full time.
Kev's going to come out badly out of this discussion in a sense, because he's my partner in crime with a lot of these things. But about 21 years ago, we went to New Zealand. We spent a lot of time in New Zealand, which was incredible. We did a lot of coach travel while we were there. Booked a coach, took us everywhere. We were like pensioners, even though we were in our 20s. But what I did notice about New Zealand then, I don't know if it's still the case, there weren't that many people on the roads, which was exciting in itself coming from London. But they were all like sort of 70s and 80s Toyota Corollas and Fords and like cars that you would see on the British roads in the 70s and 80s. They were still going strong in New Zealand. And somebody said that it was something to do with the lack of sodium in the wind or something, that they don't rot out there or something. But it was like a sort of vintage car set wherever you went. It was like,
it is a bit like that in Australia as well, isn't it? It's,
but I think more so. I think you're right. More so in New Zealand. I think it's in their nature to be very careful, and they've got a good husbandry and everything. They take care so that you get that sort of Austin Allegro, and you polish it every day, and you just keep it in the garage, and therefore and have it regularly maintained and serviced, and therefore it gives you sterling a long life.
Very good. So do you like tour buses? Do you like with the guides who would tell you about places?
It was a bit like that. When I look back on it, it's such an antiquated thing now. As I say, we were young thrusting men in our 20s, but we were on these coaches with the very elderly, and then every so often another bus would pull up, the 18 to 30s bus that used to follow us around.
What? And you were on the old folks?
We were on
I'd rather be on the old folks bus.
Well, that's it. Less fluid.
Did you take sandwiches or any refreshments? Yeah.
Always took sandwiches and refreshments. Always a thermos.
What would you have in it in your sandwiches?
I'm a very fussy eater, so it would be.
Who isn't?
I'm better than I used to be, but there aren't many things that I would put on a sandwich. Certainly not in the early noughties. Maybe a ham and a scraping of butter, a packet of plain crisps. Completely different now. I've trained myself.
Ham and mustard.
Oh yeah, why not? Why not?
You see, broad-minded.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's the least popular on your list of foods?
I tell you what, like a Marie Rose sauce or a prawn cocktail with a creamy finish to it. Despise. Aioli, take it off my plate. Oh. Mayonnaise, I become enraged. I really do.
So it's the creaminess of things that you don't like.
Savoury, white sauce, creamy.
Would it also apply to, let's say, rice pudding?
I've never eaten rice pudding.
So it's the creaminess, it's dairy.
Yeah.
Thicker dairy that you anti.
Mint in savoury foods. I realise this is not the point of this podcast, but you brought this horse to water, and I'm going to drink.
Yeah, we've opened the gates of hell, and we're going to confront it.
Journey in. But yeah, I mean, I don't mind mint in pins. I don't mind mint ice cream. But if you're going to put it on my salad, I will flip the table over.
What about in your sauce with your lamb chops for your Sunday dinner?
Okay, Jules, that's interesting, because that you would think that I would be upset about that, but because of the sheer vinegariness of that finish, I don't mind it.
So you've discussed with us your bus experiences with a lot of pensioners, and buses are quite a nice way to travel, but of course it has less privacy than a motor vehicle.
Yeah.
Do you drive out of interest?
Oh, yes. I do. I love cars, actually. But, the problem with your podcast is it's crammed with exotica. I heard Rita Wilson talking about her and her husband driving from Paris to Rome.
And the monkey mobile.
The monkey mobile. You having a Buick. I can't compete with all that business. I did have 2 Alfa Romeos, one after the other, though. About 12 years ago, I had a lovely Alfa Romeo Brera. Here's me desperately trying to sound...
What is a Brera? Is that...
It's a little... I don't know, it's not that small.
But what does Brera mean?
I don't know.
In Italian? Because they
have one up.
Bear.
Yeah, or...
Might be.
Brother.
Brother, yeah.
I bet it's brother, isn't it?
It's a funny name for a car.
Well, I think there is a brother, isn't it? No, it's a computer, isn't it? Is it?
Showing our age there. Brother typewriters.
Alfa Romeo's a nice name, though, for a car.
Yeah, it's very romantic, isn't it?
Well, it is literally that, isn't it? It's first romance. Oh, the greatest romance.
Is that what he mean? Why do I never look
Alpha
these things
is
up?
top, isn't it? And Romeo is a lover, top lover.
Top
so
lover.
when you're driving around in an Alfa Romeo, you are saying, quite brazenly, written on your car, I am the top lover.
Yes.
I had to trade it in for a more roomy vehicle once the kids came, you know. My car history is relatively boring, really, but my dad's is fascinating because coming from that time in the 70s into the 80s where I found out that we had a big turnover of vehicles, and I thought it was just because my dad was a bit adult ADD, you know, like a bit like Tony Pitts. Like, I'll drive it around and I can sell it and get a new one. But my dad was explaining to me, we had that Hillman Imp, you remember the cream one? I was like, yeah, that was the one you opened the car door into my brother's face by accident that time. That was the one. And we only had it for about 6 months. And that was because I had to sell it to pay the mortgage. And so he did that about 3 times, you know. So then we trade up a little bit and we get a Datsun 100A and we keep that for like maybe a year. And then that'd go.
But you touched on something else there, that cars can often have happy memories, you know. So a car...
We're getting smashed in the face.
Just thinking getting your brother smashed in the face with the car door, always had a happy memory of that vehicle. But it might be that, you know, for instance, a car, you know, had a happy memory because you had you snogged your first love in there, or you sort of went on a particularly lovely journey. And that vehicle, it doesn't have to be anything spectacular. It doesn't have to be like sort of a great sort of grand Ferrari or something, but it just might be something that holds very special memories for you.
That's exactly it. And every single car that we had, it has that, you know, it holds a certain magic. Like the Crimson Datsun 100A with the vinyl roof got us from Lee, Lancashire, 5 of us, including my Uncle Martin, who's only 2 years older than me. It's a northern thing. It got us all the way down to Newquay in Cornwall, which was against all odds. You know, I mean, you could put that engine on a bike and it would still be relatively underpowered, you know what I mean? Managed to get us there. And we had a lovely week there at the Sandpiper Hotel, which has now been razed to the ground. And then, but the problem was it was the car park was right down at the bottom of a colossal slope. And of course you can see the problem. We couldn't get the bastard out.
You couldn't get back up the hill.
No.
It was really humiliating for us because we waved. It's like that thing when you say goodbye to somebody and then you see them at the bus stop 10 minutes later. We'd said this very emotional goodbye to
tears and everything.
Yeah. And then they waved us off, and then we had to sort of go in and say, "You can give us a push up the hill," and it sort of destroyed the ambience a little bit. I was reminded of the tiny Fiat 500 we had as well, and it was beautiful. If you had it now and it was from 1970 or whatever, it'd be worth a few quid. It's a beautiful thing. Like sort of gorgeous little dark blue thing. But he said he realised that he had to trade that one in once. He had me in the front seat and I would have been about 4, and he was driving behind a lorry, and this smell of petrol started coming from the front of the car because it was quite the engine was on your knee basically. If he'd gone into the back of something or under something because it was so small, it would have just been a ball of flames. So that went. You know, it's a lot of terrifying memories of cars of the 70s and 80s, but mostly nice ones.
What about
romantic ones? Have you had a romantic?
Oh yeah. I can hear twinkling.
I can see the twinkling in your eyes.
A little je t'aime moment here.
1,000 violins starting to play.
It was something to do with a Vauxhall Cavalier Commander and the car park of Lilford Park.
And we'll leave it there.
What about the railways? Are you a keen railways?
I do. I mean, but you know, I've not had many of those Michael Portillo moments. I remember we went on holiday in the south of France about 15 years ago, and it was gorgeous. We got one of those, we got the Eurostar down to Paris, and then we got one of the more sort of ancient and rickety trains out towards the coast, and it was so beautiful. And they had those. It's not a Pendolino, is it? It's like the sort of thing you might film on. It's got a corridor and it's got compartments. And,
is this in France?
Yeah. My rail journeys, apart from that, tend to be those terrifying Pendolino journeys up to Wigan North West. There's nothing romantic about it. Nothing romantic about it. I remember I did the Edinburgh Festival a few times because I do a radio programme. I used to do a breakfast show on 6 Music, and for about 5 years running, we would do the breakfast show from Edinburgh Festival, and we'd have loads of comedian guests on and things. It was exciting. And then about 2 hours after my radio show finished, I would go across town to the venue that I was doing my live show in, and I'd be doing stand-up which I stopped doing in 2017 due to public demand. And then it was a bit like a shit Letterman, you know, we'd have guests on and things like that. But the BBC being not given to spending lots of money, you know, and they sent us up on this endless train journey, and it was odd because after about 6 hours in, people started vomiting around me. It was really odd. I was whether it was a bug that went right. Amazingly, I dodged it. I apologise if you are just about to tuck into your 11s, dear listener, because I was sort of waiting at that sort of interstitial bit where the toilets are with the doors that open a bit like you're on Opportunity Knocks.
Yes.
And a lady just sort of walked up towards me, and she had her head in her hands, and I thought that she just had some bad news. And she removed her hands and was just sort of projectile vomited up the wall next to me. Now, that's the kind of story that I bring to this podcast.
Yeah.
It's not going out this episode, is it? I can just see it. It's not. Well, why would it? Why would it even? It's usually escapism, this podcast. When I listen to it, I love hearing about people's outrageous car experiences, and I don't know, I can't remember, was it you and Roland Rivron driving to Coco Chanel's villa or something?
Yeah.
Ridiculous. I mean, you need a little injection of vomit, I think, every now and again, to sort of bring things down to everybody else's level.
You know, you've brought us through vomit stories. Neasden
Parade.
It is a lovely name. Is there any other places with names of parts of the body?
Neasden.
Chester.
Yeah. This is a very
Handsworth.
Yes.
Handsworth.
Well, if we can go to France, of course we've got Brest.
yeah.
I'm going to do that on the radio today. That's
of course, Liverpool.
Well, we're going internal now.
Internal.
Hartlepool. I mean, but I think extremities is the one. You're going to get lots of filthy ones.
Braintree.
Stewart.
Don't say Cockfosters.
I wasn't going to. That's why I said you're going to get lots of filthy ones. Arsenal.
It's like penis.
Oh, well, there we are. Is Arsenal a place?
Yes, I think it is.
Well, we can have that then.
Yes.
Peniston and Cockermouth.
Yes.
That's all I've got.
Good heavens.
Well,
Anyway.
you glad you had me on.
Yes.
If only for the vomit stuff.
Yeah.
And for the rude place names. I mean, I think it's more than paid for itself.
I don't like the lighting on the new buses. I've said this before. Have you seen that? The old lighting, you had a lovely yellow glow from the early lighting, and everybody looked sort of attractive, like they were out of a sort of a John Betjeman poem or something.
Yeah.
And nowadays, everybody's lit with these sort of horrible sort of grey, blue. You all look like we're in a detention centre on the bus.
I couldn't agree more. I do think that we've been overtaken by, and I'm sure that there are great environmental reasons for using these very long life bulbs, but you're right, the light is so unromantic, isn't it? You should put little filters on them or something. I bought a bulb about a couple of years ago. It's a fascinating story, but it was like it said it had a 20-year lifespan or something, and I thought this bulb could outlive me quite easily. This bulb could be shooting out its photons on my dead body at the kitchen table.
Yes.
It could easily outlive me.
They'll all be gathering around underneath the light of this bulb that I'm looking at me having expired.
Yeah, what I like is a replicant of gaslight.
Yeah.
Or candlelight, which when I was a youth, I used to have a wee Willy Winky hat and nightgown and a candle, and used to take it to bed and read Dickens by candlelight in bed.
No, you did not.
I did. I got my mum to make it for me.
A wee Willy Winky.
Yeah, I got some striped flannelette and said I want a nightgown and a wee Willy Winky hat.
You won't get away with it now. My eldest is 13.
I don't think I'd allow any of my kids to have a candle next to the bed whilst reading. That's the wee Willy Winky hat, and it's fine. But
not the candle next to the bed.
Maybe not the candle.
The health and safety executive would have something to say about that, definitely. The candle
naked
next
flame.
to the bedspread, yeah.
I do remember that I used to play with candles quite a lot. Fire was something that I was intrigued by, and me and my cousin got some candle wax and put it all over our faces to make ourselves look like
your faces had melted.
You know, just a horror face,
Yeah.
and then covered it in Vaseline, which had red paint in it, and startled it, and jumped out and startled a couple of old ladies outside our house, who then nearly had a heart attack, and there was all hell was let loose in our house because these women had said, "Oh, look, we're old, we could have had a heart attack," and my dad's bollocking me and my cousin with all the wax on our faces. So I'm really sorry sorry for causing all this trouble. We're covered in bits of dripping wax.
Your face is a mask of horror.
Yeah.
I dressed up in 1984. I'll never forget it. We went through a period, me and our owners, of trying to glean as much cash as we could from the neighbouring streets for penny for the guy, and I dressed up as a guy. And I got some tights over my head and stuff.
Was the purpose you dressed up as the guy because you looked more realistic than any guy you could have made, and therefore you were going to get bigger donations?
Yes.
Did it worry you at any point that you thought you actually might be thrown onto the fire?
Tossed on the fire. We're back to immolations again, aren't we? I was getting a bit concerned, but then I started pissing myself, laughing, and as the body went up and down, it enraged people. They thought
asked their money back
because they were like, "Oh, that's the best guy I've ever seen." I thought, but surely that's going the full 9 yards. Dressing up as a guy, that's even better than making one, surely. But they didn't see it that way.
I would have applauded that.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I would have.
Shows you though.
Very well done.
That's people, though, isn't it?
And now, a message from our sponsors. Oi, Kojak, that syrup don't fool me.
Christ almighty, not again. I should have gone to pay or not to pay, etc. in Hither Green.
Also, another branch in Lewisham above the wool shop. Now, F off, you bald...
F off you what, bald? C.T. Oh, that's coot.
Oh, I see.
I didn't even get around to telling you about the time when my dad's Citroen BX broke down and my Uncle Paul turned up to fix it, and he popped the bonnet and he hit it with a hammer and it started going. See, and I just think that just shows you the technological journey we've come on even in the last 30 years. I mean, you can't, if you take your car for a service these days, you might as well take it to Elon Musk, hadn't you? But in the old days, you could hit it with a hammer.
That's right.
And then it would start going
Anybody
again.
could fix it, that's
That's
right.
what people used to do with the TVs though, as well. And if they stopped working, just bang it on the top and it would generally work again.
Yes, there's too much built-in obsolescence these days. And I was thinking the other day that it might be quite nice to have your own private Zeppelin. Is that something you've ever thought about?
Well, being one of the world's biggest Led Zepp fans, the Zeppelins are never far from my mind anyway. Yeah, it's, again, another great mode of transport ruined by one colossal disaster, wasn't it?
Well, that's right, in the old days, yeah.
I think they're coming back though.
They are coming back a bit, aren't they?
The newfangled ones, they look like spaceships.
There was a thing here, because we're in Greenwich here, and you used to be able to see from the top of the building here, you could just glimpse into the City of London and see St Paul's. And then, of course, they built Canary Wharf, and that was the new landmark, so it's rather blotted it out. But when Jim was here with Bob Mortimer writing their first thing, is in the sort of early 80s or mid 80s or whatever it was, I said it would be great if you could have, like Christopher Wren, he used to have a bucket that would take you up there, and then they said it would be great if we had a bucket that took us from the top of St Paul's to here, so they'd be winched across London. And I thought that would be a really nice way to travel.
Oh, God.
That would be, because there's one over the Thames, there's I don't know what you call it, a gondolier on a string.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that's how they sell it, but yeah.
But whatever you call it.
The strung
There's
gondolier.
the string that goes over the Thames with gondoliers on it.
Yeah.
Not a gondolier.
But yeah, do you mean like the cable car thing?
Yeah,
that's great.
But we've never been on that. Have you ever been on that?
No, I really want to go.
You've got to get on there, man.
But imagine that did go across the city of London.
Wait a minute, you went on it?
I used to take the kids on it a lot when they get to that age where you hit Sunday morning and you think, oh God, I can't face the park anymore. We've done some drawing. What the else are we going to do? And so I took them there quite a lot, and it's really beautiful.
Is it frightening?
It is a bit like when it stops, every so often it stops to regulate the service. And as a man in his 40s, I've had experiences. I understand there's nothing to panic about, but if you're 5, you shit yourself. So
when you say that, was it in fact the other way around?
Yes, it was the other way around. Well spotted. And they were squeezing my hand. Don't lose it, Dad. We know you don't like enclosed spaces. Don't lose it.
But cable cars, I remember going to Butlins at Filey when I was little, and they had a cable car that took you to the beach, and I could have spent all day on it.
It never gets old, man. It just doesn't. It's like those. It's like the little steam trains that you sort of sit astride and you putter along on. It's just...
Well, the thing about those is I've seen a few photographs of people on those. I've got some specialist mags that have that sort of thing, and I did consider having one of those things going around my garden. The reason I wanted to do this is because you've never seen such happy-looking people.
Yeah.
Happy, contented, well-adjusted. Everything was good. Win-win. I thought, well, I'd like to be that. Thanks very much. The only bit that was against it was then to do it, you had to sort of get the thing steamed up sort of very early that morning and then build a track all around your garden, and it was all a bit sort of...
A bit high maintenance.
Yes, exactly, yeah. Love the smell of steam, though. I mean, God, do you like the smell of steam?
I love it.
Steam vehicle.
Yeah, in the world of transport, for me, first, it's two-stroke.
Oh, the smell of that.
Yeah. And then after that, it'd be state. I do like going round. I like going to a country fair and sniffing the machinery.
I couldn't agree with you more. Just the smell of the grease.
Do you sniff the fellas too?
Well, they're so obsessed with their machinery that they wouldn't even notice if you went and smelt their machinery and them at the same time.
A steam man's hat has got a good... I've spent the day around steam machinery, and I've got friends who specialise in that world, but my hat, at the end of it, will have a beautiful aroma, which I think I would bottle, and I would sell it to one of these grand French, like Hermes or whoever they are.
That's good. Yeah. Well, next time I go to the country fair,
steam man's hat.
I'm going to say my friend Jools suggested that I sniff your hat.
or take a scraping from your hat to present it to Estee Lauder for their new fragrance.
Yeah. You call it chapeau.
But I think it's a good idea, because men's aftershaves is generally a bitter and caustic affair. But I think, nice rounded smell, because I know what you're talking about. A steam man's hat has got a nice rounded. Yeah, that'd be a nice rounded scent.
Everybody would love that. I mean, there's no right thinking or right smelling person that wouldn't get that aroma and want to be there.
Do you know what? I just remember my dad. I used to like sniffing his flat cap. And I don't know what it was. It was just the scent of me dad. Whether it was his... I don't think it was.
Well, I
his
think our follow-up fragrance, which we're going to be doing, and they can be worn by men and ladies. Yeah. But the follow-up fragrance is going to be Dad's hat. Yeah, which is the follow-on from Steam Man's hat.
Yeah, I think we're onto something.
And I think maybe Mum's apron.
Mum's handbag.
Well, like you say, the Parma violets.
Yeah, because I've talked to you about Parma violets. I used to like sniffing my auntie's handbag.
And there's so much evocation going on there, guys.
Yes.
Sometimes you see someone in the street and you wouldn't mind having a sniff, but politeness kind of draws a veil over that, doesn't it?
Everybody just smells like an estate agent these days. That's the problem. We need more chapeau pour l'homme and the bottom of old ladies' handbags, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think that's covered all our thought. We've covered quite a lot of areas that we've never covered before. Yeah. Train vomits.
The sense of smell.
Yeah.
And that's especially ironic for me because I got COVID-19 just before Christmas. Happy Christmas.
Oh,
I basically lost most of my sense of smell and taste, which is not yet returned.
Oh,
really?
You didn't tell this. You're saving this bombshell for the end of the program.
Well, I think that there's an ancillary podcast which is all about the scent of a woman and the scent of a man that you could also present. That's a whole new episode, isn't it?
It's all there, isn't it? Mm. Well, thank you very much. Good luck with all your endeavours, and off you go, Shaun Keavney.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys.
Well, there goes Shaun.
Yes.
On a gondola.
I think he's on a gondola with a beautiful fragrance of Steam Man's hat.
On a flying gondola. This podcast was produced and edited by Molly Stewart.
Sound engineers were James Stewart and George Latham.